Live from the mighty Veedverks airship, I'm Travis Lippert, CEO of Verks Unlimited Limited, better known as Veedverks.
And I'm Julie Richardson. I'm the Director of Commercialization and Promotions. And we have with us the wonderful Bec Koop with Irie Weddings. Irie
Weddings.
Irie Weddings.
Yeah.
Yes.
You produce cannabis weddings and events, right?
Yes, I do.
So your URL, let's get this right out of the... So it's Irie Weddings and Events.com.
Yes.
Can I tell people your phone number?
Absolutely.
If you want to call her, it's 720-460-0633. And today we're going to talk about, cannabis weddings for starters. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Please, everybody, by the way, subscribe to our YouTube channel because this is going to be the primary place that we stream live to from now on. So please subscribe, share this out, and get the word out.
When did you start this?
We've been in business. This is our 5th wedding season, and so it's just really started off in Colorado and slowly expanded to other regions. Mm-hmm. And it began because we wanted to be able to incorporate cannabis in different ways into people's celebration. If it's part of their daily life, we thought it should be part of the big day.
Right. Well, you have a history in wedding planning. Yes. And you came, and that's what I love so much about doing this show, because there's so many different people that come on that they came and did what they were doing in their other states, and then now they're doing it in the cannabis industry. And you're a really good example of come do you,
yes,
in the cannabis space. You touched on some of the things that you were seeing at before cannabis became legal at other weddings, and that kind of turned you towards you wanted to have a little bit different experience in the space.
Absolutely. Yes, we definitely saw that there was different vendors who were actually not open-minded about cannabis, to the point that sadly there was a photographer in Breckenridge that walked out on a client after taking all their first look photos, after taking like the initial setup and get ready photos, and he left them literally standing at the altar because the groom and the groomsmen were smoking a joint before the ceremony. He did not feel comfortable and he left on site, non-refundable contract, and it was a bloody battle just to even get those first photos, and it wasn't fair because it wasn't written in the contract. And at that point, since I was already an industry professional in the up there in the mountains in Colorado by Breckenridge, right, I knew all of these other planners and florists and photographers, caterers who would all be open-minded and who would never leave clients stranded because of their personal decisions on their big day.
Right. Well, and that's important too. We saw what happened to the guy. Well, it was here in Lakewood, the baker.
Yep,
didn't want to make a cake for, a gay couple, and that made national news. So.
Absolutely, and it's just a shame to be discriminated against because of your personal choices, and also if you want to have it for your guests to experience when in Rome situation, allow them to have it in a safe environment that's guided and experienced, and people are taking you through a journey to enjoy the different strains of cannabis throughout the evening in a safe, moderated way.
Right. Now you have these, what if you have somebody come up to you and they go, oh, I've always wanted to get married at such and such a place, but I want this to be a cannabis wedding, but that isn't a cannabis friendly venue. Where do you go from there?
Well, then we'll try to approach the venue again and see why they're having their opinions against having a cannabis wedding, and try to talk to them about our special type of insurance coverage, as well as just explaining how the process works so that the venue is more comfortable with the experience. Quite often, if they haven't allowed a cannabis event to happen at their location, they don't know what that looks like. They're afraid that it's going to be a complete out of control situation. Everybody's either sleeping or eating or just different experiences. And honestly, it's a lot like a regular wedding. Just people are stepping out at different times to imbibe and then coming back and enjoying the rest of the party with everyone else.
So let's,
That's amazing.
On your website, it says that the process that you go through is you sit down and you get to know people.
Yep.
And then you send them shopping.
Yep. So
and then what's the third thing that you do?
We provide a service with a smile. So what happens is we just get to know them, and we want to know what type of a venue they want. And if it's going to be a cannabis friendly venue, if they need to go with one that we're already affiliate or working with, there's over 70 just in the Denver area that are open-minded about having cannabis at their
Wow.
Wow.
at their events. So, but it has to be under different guidelines. So some places prefer no consumption of like open flame, so joints, glass, anything along those lines, but they're totally accepting of vaporizing, can of cocktails, or micro-serving edibles. So you just figure out what type of the venue policies are in line with the consumption preferences for the couple or clients, and you just match with the right venue with the right clients.
What's your favorite venue in Denver?
Ooh, that's tough.
What are your top three favorite venues?
Okay, we've got Chateau at Fox Meadows, Lionsgate, and Baldoria on the Water.
Baldoria in the Water. I've been there.
Yes,
Yes.
beautiful. They're all
Yes.
wonderful places and great different personalities at each venue.
So once we have the venue figured out, so would this be for the wedding or for the reception? Would you actually get married at Baldoria on the Water?
You can do everything at each of these different locations. They
So-
have the different setup spaces available.
And so will they allow open flames at that place? Let's say I'm thinking about getting married.
Sure. All three of those are very open-minded cannabis policies.
Yeah.
So yes, it's just a matter of where the cannabis bar is to be set up and just having a safe consumption area if there are minors, just making sure it stays out of their hands. So it depends on the more of the demographic of your unique wedding situation. So
Yeah.
if you told me what your guest count is, if you told me how many minors will be there, and do we need to bring a privacy tent or, set up a different area, whatever it may be, or is it a little more like where you have the cannabis beverage bar right next to the cocktail beverage bar? So you have them side by side and people choose a line and they walk up and enjoy a beverage.
Which line's longer?
Right now the alcohol, but it's all right. People come up really smiling ear to ear when they realize they can get a cannabis cocktail from us.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So for if people were going to consume bud, let's say I want to have just a cool wedding,
Yeah.
and I have how many? It's been so long since I got married, I I don't know how many people came. Let's say that
100 guests,
is that a good wedding?
average.
All right, 100 guests, and everybody is cool with it except I've got a bunch of friends from the Air Force Academy, and a couple of them, one of them's still in the military,
Okay.
and one of them actually 3 of them fly commercial airliners. And so the guy in the military, well, all of them, and let's say a couple of them are professional truck drivers, and there's 2 race car drivers, and all of them have to take random urinalyses tests. So what would you advise me to put, like, just starting with save the dates on the literature that we send out to warn all of these people that this is going to be a consumption event, and also everybody else is going to be Canna-Fam. So
Definitely. So that's a great question because we have encountered that exact situation. It's a matter of informing your guests in a tasteful way. You can be loud and proud about your love of the bud, is what we like to say, and you can have it everywhere and just have, some folks have incorporated it into their wedding style designs, into their wedding cakes, into everything everywhere, on their wedding websites and whatnot. Boutonnieres and their bouquets, their hemp silk wedding dresses, you name it. There are so many fun options, but
Hemp silk, really? That's
Yes.
available now?
gorgeous.
Oh, be
Absolutely
still my
stunning.
heart.
Yes. Absolutely gorgeous, and all different types of custom-made dresses for more affordable than you would believe. So, but yeah, it's just a beautiful way that different folks can incorporate it into different elements of their wedding, whether it's a party favor, like some of the beautiful Veedverks Amelia's lotions as a bridal gift or groom's gift, anything, just love party favors, anything special, you can work that in. Chapsticks that are made from hemp and CBD products, but also definitely we're seeing just as much of the THC bars as we're seeing the CBD bars becoming in popularity because not all venues are ready to accept THC bars yet, thinking that people might get a little too high, but it doesn't hurt them to get a little more relaxed after drinking a lot of alcohol at a wedding. So just bringing in different elements of it.
Right. Now, you also help the couple have the conversation with the rest of their party, not just, you brought up a card that you sent out. Now, tell us a little bit about that. It's just your basic when you RSVP,
Mm-hmm.
you said it had on there a little beef and then a little chicken thing for choose, and then a cannabis leaf.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did they get a little alcohol bottle too?
I don't think so on
Which
that
one?
one, but you should.
Yeah. Will you be drinking or will you be consuming or both?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great way to get a solid count of your guests if you want to do that. But a lot of people who are actually using our services are people who work in the cannabis space. So a lot of their friends and family are all part of industry. So a lot of those weddings tend to be a lot heavier on the consumers. But then when you have folks who it's more of a destination wedding, for a
Right.
lot of people coming in from other areas, you don't see quite as many people consuming, but you have a ton of people who are very, very curious with a lot of questions. And it's less intimidating than going to a dispensary because of the fact that there's no like obligation to purchase and there's no fear of asking the wrong question. Like they're around a table and people are just very curious, asking about the different strains, how is this going to affect me, and all of these different things. And being able to have somebody who's knowledgeable safely send you on a fun journey for the evening, just as you would do a flight of beer or a flight of wine. We don't give you large serving sizes of anything on the cannabis bar. We want you to come back to us and we get to keep hanging out with you and understand where your consumption is to make sure you're in a good place. And if we see that somebody's over imbibed on cannabis or on alcohol, we will cut them off on both bars. And we have really great relationships with our bartenders because we want people to have a good, safe, positive experience. And then, if necessary, we pull out the overconsumption kit and guide them through coming down or coming back up from a poor experience.
I'd like to talk about the overconsumption kit, but first I would like to talk about the consumption more.
Yeah.
So at this bar, like how many strains would a typical wedding have?
Typical wedding, we suggest 4 strains. So you have one that's more sativa leaning, one that's a true hybrid, one that's more indica leaning, and then one that's very low THC behind CBD.
Can you give us examples of each of those?
Oh, sure. Like,
So let's start with the sativa.
Durban Poison would be a wonderful one. One that's perfectly in the middle typically is a wedding cake. So that's always a perfect, nice, fun one. We've done like pre-98 Bubba Kush or a Ghost OG on the indica side. And for the low THC, we've done Harlequin, Canatonic.
AC/DC?
Yes.
Sour Tsunami?
Yep. And there was also Cana Tsunami that came out recently. And yeah, so those are a lot of beautiful ways to be able to give people baby steps. So like we do have like little glass one hitters. That's almost like just taking a sip or a drag off of a cigarette. Like one tiny, it's a 15th of a gram that goes in there. And people are very interested in that type of modality if it's their first time trying, or trying like a PAX vaporizer because it's smoke free and odor free, and they actually get to taste the terpenes and understand the experience, and it's completely different than they would have ever experienced. So figuring out what ways with what methods they want to try. So like for vaporizing, like I mentioned, the PAX, but we also have like Volcano. So you have the old school party bag and you fill it up and people get to enjoy that. That's always a crowd pleaser. But then you also can like do a CBD vape cartridge. So you have that for those folks who want to try just CBD only, or you have some that are also, again, like we're doing a wedding for Organa Brands and Open folks. And so they're going to have a lot of their CBD or their THC cartridges in their
That's awesome.
vape pens. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
So, and we've done like the wedding for the folks who own Incredibles. So we had all of their chocolates. We did Infused s'mores station.
Fun.
And so we like literally roasted the marshmallows at the table and hooked them up with their flavor of s'mores with their chocolates, and had all of their little gummies and micro mints and everything. So just making sure that we understood where they were with their cannabis experience and guiding them on how strong or how less of a journey they want to go on, and have them keep coming back.
Now, you wrote a training protocol for your bud tenders.
Yes.
And
It's very important to us.
yes. So let's go into that a little bit of, just like say we have any type of bartender, you have to look for signs of, somebody who's overindulged. So kind of share a little bit about what you have in there and how you use that.
Absolutely. So we take the time to train our bud tenders in a way that we feel that they need to obviously know appropriate ID verification is number one before people can consume, but then starting to also go through what does that service look like. When you approach an alcohol bar, the bartender just asks you what you want. When you approach us, we ask you, what's your relationship with cannabis? We need to know, are they a daily consumer, or is this their first time in 30 years, or is this their first time ever? And so start to guide where they're going to go on the spectrum, because you have everything from flower to micro-serving edibles to possibly can of cocktails to even potentially dabs if the venue allows or if it's the appropriate crowd. So understanding where they want to imbibe and guiding them through what's going to be best for their tolerance, their experience, and also in Colorado in particular, are they a lowlander? Are they from sea level? And now you're also playing the altitude game.
Right.
So like helping them have a positive experience is key. But with the training, we just teach them where in the spectrum to send someone based on their experience. We also take the time to teach them about different ways that if somebody has over-imbibed, to get them back to a comfortable level. And also to make sure that you are like taking the time to understand if there is a situation, help trying to use that overconsumption kit in a way that brings somebody back to feel better. But also, if it is truly a medical emergency, and maybe it's not related to the cannabis, but it might be anaphylactic to something they ate. It might be a diabetic situation. And understanding when there is a true emergency, but a beautiful resource that's coming out here this summer, and we're so excited to have, is Leaf 411. And Leaf 411 is a hotline that is RNs, and they are just registered nurses ready to go for anybody before they consume or after they consume or during their consumption time to ask the appropriate questions. So say somebody is on heart medication and they want to know, will it have an interaction? Well, they can call this hotline. We can literally hand them a pamphlet from behind our cannabis bar, say, please call a nurse and confirm. We are not doctors. If you're concerned, here you go. And also, like, say that somebody did feel like they overconsumed and were having a poor experience, and we're concerned about when they get home, you know, what do I do if I still don't feel better? Here you go. Give them a resource. And so it helps just make people realize that you can have immediate help, and we can take these statistics of people having a poor cannabis experience and not knowing how to handle it without going to the emergency room.
Right.
Dial it first. Say the name of that again?
Leaf 411.
Leaf 411. I think that's a fantastic idea. The number of people who have gone to the ER when they didn't have to because of cannabis, it's just always irritating when you hear those stories.
Right. And it got brought up. I was at a meeting the other night where there was a doctor speaking and talking about people going to the emergency room for cannabis and having, you know, how it's basically giving the wrong impression on a lot of these ER doctors. You know, they're thinking it's more of an issue than what it is. And people who have true like gallbladder issues, or maybe they have the flu, well, they're going in and they're being diagnosed with that instead of what the problem really is, and so they show up again.
Exactly.
So having a resource where they can pick up the phone and call and
Well, but that's also why it's so important to, rather than just setting out self-serve cannabis on a table where anybody can snag it and have maybe a poor experience because they don't know what they're consuming, and maybe they wanted to giggle, but next thing you know, they're feeling couch locked and very hazy. That's not the experience that they were expecting, and they weren't given that in moderation. But had they been given it in moderation, they probably would have had a better experience.
Right.
And also, you know, what happens if like people are outside consuming in a vehicle and they come in and they had an adverse reaction? Who can help them if nobody's prepared to understand with training of what are the signs and symptoms of somebody having this type of experience, figuring out what they did consume to see if you can help them have a better experience.
Right.
So it's a lot of liability, actually, is just as you allow alcohol, you should handle cannabis just as seriously and consume responsibly and have safe consumption encouraged.
right.
Do you have headphones that you can give people that play Dark Side of the Moon?
That would be pretty epic. Now, my favorite one I've seen so far, though, is actually nasal cannulas, where you could get it hooked up with CBD oxygen, and it was quite nice.
We've actually talked to people about doing something like that.
It's
and
incredible.
I wonder how you would do it.
Yeah.
That's very
Hopefully coming soon to Irie lineup.
Outstanding.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Definitely a lot of fun. So, but yeah, it's you definitely just want people to understand what they're consuming and have a positive experience again.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have like certain dispensaries that you just keep track of what they have in stock for when you're gonna send your guests out there to?
We have some clients that they might already have a favorite dispensary if they're local, and they tend to go ask them if they can get a little wedding weed discount. And hopefully they're accommodating. And if they're not, we do have several partners in different sides of the city that we can send clients to so that they can get their discounted nuptial nugs.
So since we brought that up, can we pull some of those bouquet pictures
Yeah, I'll
up?
work on that.
Let's see.
Don't wait for me to get it pulled
Don't
up.
wait for you to get it.
No.
We call them bud-filled bouquets.
Yeah, the bud-filled
And
bouquet.
buccaneers for the gentlemen. So
Oh, how cute. Buccaneers.
yeah. And we've even done his and her nugs in the same bouquet and have kind of the blend of both. And the joke is straight from your bouquet to your bowl.
Oh,
It's a nice way just to be able to pull it out and enjoy it. That's a bouquet that not many clients throw at the end of the night.
yeah,
though.
I wouldn't be throwing that one.
Or
No.
keep it attached to like a ribbon.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
All right,
Bring
you
it back.
caught it. You're
Yeah.
getting married next. You're getting, but
But psych. you
Yep.
know?
Exactly. So it's a lot of fun because there are, like I said, different ways to incorporate it into your big day. But definitely lining up what venue is going to be appropriate for you and seeing if it is a new venue, seeing if we can talk them through becoming a cannabis-friendly venue and guiding them through the experience as well as event professionals.
Right.
So the clients know what to expect. We do many wedding trade shows now in the main scene where we're actually like able to set up a mock cannabis bar. And many folks walk up and don't even realize what it is until they're really looking at it up close. I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh, yes. And like many of them dive in and get very excited. And some of them step back and are like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And then you have some people who just casually keep walking by.
Yeah.
So, and it's all good. We see all types, but even the vendors who are next to us at times love it because they always say the funniest thing is watching the people's reactions when they realize
Oh, I can imagine.
what we're doing. It's a lot of fun.
so how about this? I just pulled up pictures or pulled
There
up
you
your
go.
website.
Beautiful.
So here's exchanging vows with an exchange of toques. It looks like. As you're going by too fast, I need to pause them. But I saw a cool. It'll be a cool wedding.
Yeah.
With that's interesting. So for gifts for like groomsmen, what are some examples of gifts that people give to their groomsmen and bridesmaids?
Yeah. For the fellows, we've seen everything from engraved Zippo lighters to blunt tubes to cannabis leaf cufflinks, lapel pins. Then we've seen vaporizers. We've seen just even gift cards to dispensaries. I mean, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And for the ladies, we've seen a lot of the nice, beautiful, like cannabis and CBD spa products. And, like maybe sometimes for a maid of honor, giving her a CBD massage and all that kind of fun stuff. So facials. I mean, there's different ways to have it go both gender specific, but then like the neutral things is chapsticks or unscented lotions as party favors that you can give to all of your guests. Or like we've seen where there's even like been a fun little raffle where they put like a special ticket underneath the chair, and at the end of the night they pull it out and they potentially win like really nice little gift baskets for a couple special folks in the party even. And so like with all of your guests, so it keeps everybody having fun all night long, and giving the gift of cannabis in different ways is really nice. We've even seen folks who've been interested in hemp linens on the tables. I mean, so yeah, the dresses are more popular, the linens are a little less, but it's just kind of expensive at this time, the hemp fibers, but it's still gorgeous, and keep them for your home afterwards.
Yeah. Well, and the more people that get into this industry, the more new and innovative things that are coming down the line. So I didn't know about hemp silk. That was the conversation between hemp clothes is there's not a lot of styling, and it's just t-shirts and that sort of thing, but it's not that case anymore.
No, it's changed a lot. So it's just beautiful to see the different ways you can incorporate it. But honestly, the most popular way people are doing it is having the cannabis bar. So it's just been the biggest hit, and it's the most successful side of the wedding business, because you have your mobile bartenders. So you should have your mobile bud tenders,
Right.
but they should be educated and train themselves before they're going to take people on these journeys.
And you've gone a step above. You're also very well insured,
Yes.
and from what it sounds like, one of the first cannabis event companies to have a type of insurance.
Yes.
And that was quite a task to overcome.
It was quite a task, about 4 years of working with different underwriters to get the right policy that would really have the true coverage that we were looking for, as well as the venues were looking for, because otherwise you always had to have at least $1 million liability insurance. And a lot of people were willing to cover you as a caterer, as a bartender, or any of these other things, but not as a bud tender for so long. So we had to go with just general liability and deal with the rest as it came, if it came. But now, thankfully, we are the first company, after years of working through this process, to have social cannabis consumption liability insurance. And it is very comparable to liquor liability insurance, where it's going to cover you in the case that there's an incident during the event or after the event. So it's just nice to actually know that that has an extra layer of coverage to make sure that no liability falls on the venue or on the clients on their big day. God forbid an incident happens.
Well, and you said it was what, 3 times as expensive
As
if not
liquor
more?
liability insurance, yes.
Because there's so many times when people get that type of insurance to say they're going to have an event, and they'll go a couple of weeks before, go get it for a day of. It's not a big deal. But it's a completely different story when it came to this. You had
really
to
was.
invent it.
Yes. Yes, it's just been wild, because we needed to make sure that we were covered in the appropriate ways, and we want to make sure, but that's why our training procedures and policies are so stringent on our guests, or on our staff, because it has to be regulated, just as it's very regulated when you go into a dispensary. You need to make sure that IDs are checked and that you're talking to them about appropriate gifting amounts and appropriate consumptions. And that's where it is different from a bud tender at a dispensary, is they're only really talking to you about what you should purchase. We're talking to you about how to consume. Some people don't literally ask us to light their joints for them. We're like, no, honey, let's put it in your mouth and we'll light it for you, and coach them through the experience. But there are many folks who have never even seen it or smelt it. We had folks coming in from literally across the world, or some folks in from Australia, and they simply wanted to be able to learn just what it looked like and the difference in the terpenes. And it was just like, it blew their minds, just as they were like, oh, it's like essential oils. I'm like, yes and no, but it's with a different plant. And it's just a lot of fun to be able to have very serious conversations with folks. But also then you pull out topicals, and it brings on a whole nother fun side of things. Is we had different pain salves at this one wedding, and we had doctors and lawyers going behind the barn, rubbing down their wives and themselves with these pain sticks, and literally coming back later and being like, did you bring more? Can I buy them from you? And we started laughing. We're like, no, but here's the website, and it was a CBD based product, so they could buy it anytime, anywhere. So it was just a fun experience, because 2 of those folks were doctors and 1 was a lawyer, all from conservative East Coast, where I'm traditionally from. So I get it. And I had to coach them even through an experience that was not going to get them high and make them feel safe and comfortable to apply it even to their skin. And they did, and that changed their minds. So it's just the opportunity for people to have a comfortable conversation, that they don't feel silly asking the weird questions or, embarrassing questions. We hear, just as bartenders hear about life stories, we hear about people's life stories when you're talking about the first time they tried cannabis at 14 years old, or, this one time at this concert, or it's kind of fun. I mean, and we get to engage with people in a different way that is more personable than a bartender. Like, oh, you want wine? Cool. And I was a bartender for years. And so also understanding, all right, when has somebody had too much alcohol in combination with cannabis, or maybe they're having that altitude sickness? How do we make sure that people are just staying very hydrated or you bring out the late night munchies, which everybody's just excited about the food, but really you're trying to bring their buzz down just a little bit, you know, and having less call at the same time as alcohol, like finding ways to help people get safe, sober situations to get home. Shuttle services are great. Uber, Lyft codes, all of that kind of stuff. Safe consumption is key.
What kind of munchies do you give people to bring them down?
Oh man, well, anything high in protein or even dairy products because it coats the tummy. So like people love a good old little mini sliders, little cheeseburgers are very popular. We've seen late night nacho bars. We've seen even like late night ice cream sandwiches, like going more the dessert route, but definitely going heavy on the dairy. So those are great just to start to fill their stomachs and slowly bring them down.
How about a corned beef hash?
Hey, I would be down. I would love that.
Corned beef hash bar.
Yes, that would be delicious. I would not turn it down at all.
So, you mentioned transportation. Do you also arrange for, like, let's say I want a helicopter into my wedding? Not consume, but...
We have some folks who have the access to it, so it's not a company, or it's not one of our direct affiliates.
Yeah.
Like, it's not part of our umbrella business. But yeah, absolutely. There's different folks that have large charter buses to small party buses, to limos of all shapes and sizes, but also private jets and helicopters. I can't wait for some clients to engage in those services.
Yeah.
Do you, how about Foria or something like honeymoon night?
Yep. So definitely there's some of the different type of sexual topicals that enhance the experience that we've told our guests to get before. And also like the High Love from 1906. They have the aphrodisiac chocolates. So there's definitely some different things that can add to the romance.
Is anybody making CBD infused edible underwear yet?
Not that I've heard.
Not that I've heard.
If you own an edible underwear company, you should put some CBD in that stuff.
Right? Could be entertaining.
You were the best equipped company on the planet to make CBD infused edible underwear. But I wouldn't start that business from scratch right now. But if you're already making it, put some CBD in that. And,
Yeah.
you know.
Now, you don't just do weddings. You do major industry events.
Yep.
I was reading your reviews, and you've done some, like a Cincy night review and mason jars. And when it comes to that, you guide your customer through that experience as well. Do you have a lot where they come to you and they go, okay, well, we want both, and you're able to accommodate that?
Yes.
Yes. You had the bud tenders and the, what do you call it, bartenders at the same time.
Yes, definitely. So it's a matter of, again, like we have different consulting packages where we get to know what the client's needs are, what's their budget, what are they looking for, and what type of experience do they want for their guests. Is this like a light servings where there's lots of tapas and appetizers going around, or is this more a sit-down meal, or is this like a dinner theater, like a murder mystery event?
Oh, nice.
You know, to what extent do you want to entertain your guests? We start to understand that and get to know you and figure out everything start to finish, and then help you on the day of execution to make sure the event runs flawlessly. And then we also provide the bud tenders, and then have the private bartenders that we work with.
Right. And you're in 3 different cities right now, and you're expanding out.
Yes, we are.
That's so exciting.
Thank
That is
you.
so
Tell us the
exciting.
cities again.
Yeah, so we're in Denver, Los Angeles, and Seattle right now. And by the end of June and July, we are going to be in Aspen and San Francisco, and hoping to bridge over to Boston here in the fall.
It's outstanding.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that compressor is the bane of my existence. We're going to do something about that. It seems like it's
exceptionally loud today.
I guess it sounds louder in the microphone than it. Huh. They need to put some oil in that or something. It's a drug company next door. They've got a compressor that runs what I think is a pill press, but I'm not sure. And it never fails. It'll boom.
It's either that or the garbage truck.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or a delivery truck will be out
Yes.
there and just idling
Slamming things
and,
around or
yeah.
whatever,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
You mean
Oh,
garbage blimp and delivery delivery by plane.
Yeah, delivery by.
We have a question on YouTube.
Okay.
What about alcohol infused drinks?
So our coverage does not actually allow dual consumption in the same beverage. So we keep all of the drinks that we're making just to cannabis only, and then leaving the liquor liability to the bartenders doing the alcohol drinks. And so by liability and by law, we prefer not to mix the two, even though we understand people are consuming both at the same time. It's typically not their first time consuming both, so they know their tolerance a little more than a first time consumer who might be more cautious with cannabis at the same time as alcohol.
And then we have a question from the mighty Veedverks airship. So some weddings are open bar, and some are pay as you go. Do you offer both options?
We do not, and that is because all of this has to fall under the gifting clause. So there cannot be any fiduciary exchange at the time of the cannabis is taking place. This is why our services and payouts are only for the service, not for the cannabis product. That's why it has to be purchased and outsourced at a legal dispensary. So given that circumstance, we are only charging them for the service of the bud tenders, all of the appropriate signage as it matches the strains, and the smoking devices and cleaning devices. And so at the end of the evening, if folks would like to leave a gratuity, they can do it after the service is complete, but there can never be any exchange of money. So it always has to be that open bar circumstance.
Good question.
Yeah, very good question. You brought up another one. When you're doing your buds and everything, you said from a licensed dispensary. So let's say I have an incredible grow and I want to use flowers from my grow. Is that something that I can do?
We do have a home growers agreement that it's a contract that states that you are growing within your legal limits. And or that somebody grew it for you within their legal limits and gifted it to you within their legal limits, and that it also states that Irie Weddings and Events did not distribute this or sell this to you in any way. So it takes the liability off of us that if that circumstance was done, we would accept it, but it would need to be ideally from a commercial grow.
Right.
That would be the best case scenario.
Right, because they have their labs and everything.
Exactly, and understanding the true potency of those strains is really nice for us to understand how to guide those folks on the appropriate experience. So that's why getting something that we know has been tested, regulated, there's making sure that there's no pesticides or anything like that. We can really confirm the products that we're offering to guests if it's coming from a dispensary.
Right. And, there is nothing wrong with being aware of what you're consuming, because I have a good girlfriend of mine.
Absolutely.
And she can't have any sativa whatsoever. Just
Yep.
Anxiety attack off the wall. So when having it come from a dispensary, there seems to be another layer of safety there.
There is, and also especially in Washington, they're very, very adamant about wanting to list all of their terpene profiles even on all of the jars of cannabis there. And that's really nice because ironically, both myself and my business partner are allergic to humulene. And so we both, just anytime we're working with that strain on the cannabis bar, we start to get itchy and get a little bit of a reaction on our arms and hands just from simply being in contact with the plant. Or if we consume it, we get blotchy and it's a little more of an uncomfortable experience that even leads to a headache sometimes. So for me, I wish more places listed out the terpene profiles so I would easily be able to avoid that humulene every time. So, and I have that same reaction because it's related to hops with certain beers.
Right. Well, and people who have been diagnosed with ADD, they take a stimulant like Ritalin, so they're going to be the ones where you're not going to give them an indica because that's going to cause anxiety in them. They're opposite people.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because they take speed all the time. That's all Ritalin and Concerta and all that kind of stuff is. But in their brain, it slows it down.
I've never heard that. It makes, I know that.
And that's why asking people what they typically consume or what mood do they want to be in, and doing it more as a guided experience versus a strain name. Because we have some folks that they don't even want the strain names listed. They want to know, is this going to chill me out? Is this going to energize me? Am I going to is this the nightcap? And helping them know exactly what to go for. But yeah, some folks, you also have to trust them. If they say that, like, maybe that sativas act more like an indica to them, and they've done this and they've had this experience over and over again, we have to understand that their body is unique.
Right.
But also, just like some folks might ask for a larger dab, for instance, or a larger this or that. And under those circumstances, I'm going to relate it back to alcohol. A bartender should not serve typically more than a double shot with another mixer. So we keep our serving sizes regulated so that people are, if they would like to come back for more later, they can. But we want to be able to monitor it and observe it. And just because you do that at home doesn't mean the wedding is the appropriate place.
How big is an average wedding bar dab? How many milligrams on that?
I think when we last calculated it, it was approximately 6 milligrams.
6 milligrams?
So just keeping it moderated.
A little something, something.
Yep, exactly. And then we also, but we will give large CBD dabs all day long.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. If somebody needs them or wants them, or they've been dancing and their feet hurt, come on over. We'll take care of you.
What kind of CBD dabs do you do? Do you have like where people have made shatter out of it, or are you dosing it as like powder, or how is it?
Typically, a shatter is like the most common way that people have purchased it and gifted it to their bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any? Are there any issues like in dispensaries right now if they are carrying, a THC regulated by MED type of business, then hemp-derived CBD products coming in to the business has been an issue, and it's something that, like, we don't even call on dispensaries anymore. We just So have you had any cross-contamination issues?
No, because it's all about the service rather than the sale of the product, and that's where the issues are coming in. Because when I worked at the dispensary, I remember that being a situation before, and that's, there are some bizarre regulations, and that's honestly how this business developed at the caliber that it did, was because everything needed to stay compliant. There were venues who didn't even want folks to simply carry a bouquet down the aisle on their property. We're not even saying like smoking a joint after they're married, like. And so there was folks who simply just, and there's still folks out there, venues, that don't even want it on their property at all. So that's fine. I'll send all of our business elsewhere.
Right. Right. I just can't get over some of the ignorance levels, but it's out there, and they're terrified of it. And like we deal with this when we were working on the different autism bills, so children can have cannabis as a medicine at school. Yep. It's like they were thinking there's something in the cannabis medicine that's going to jump out and get on somebody else's medicine. It has to all be separated. Yeah.
How about fog machine liquid? Have you ever done a CBD fog machine liquid wedding?
Not yet. That would be quite the experience. That would be, to create a fog room, like a little steam room, that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
I can only imagine.
It's really interesting.
I believe
maybe throw a tent up in the backyard and
just chill for the night.
Yeah, nice. Turn that thing on. It's pretty impressive.
I can imagine.
Yes, he got inspired this year, and
there you go.
Yeah, now we have a fog machine.
I don't think any proper wedding that's over the top should be without a Veedverks fog machine. That'd be your wedding's just
average until you have a grow tent hooked up with fog.
Yeah, that's the extra. That's the extra right there.
It's fun.
And it would smell good.
It would.
Because Veedverks terp smells so good.
And it would be a sensory experience.
Right. We have a mutual friend that she was at one of the Cincy nights, and she goes running around. She goes, I knew it was you. I could smell Veedverks.
Yeah.
But it's a very unique blend. So.
Well, and what's nice about the Veedverks product is, again, like if somebody is having an adverse reaction and we know that maybe they had that sativa, then giving them maybe a hybrid or an indica is a great way to guide them back off of that sativa kick, and or vice versa. And so your products are really nice to have that scale and spectrum to be able to help people if they've overconsumed on the THC side of things. So we actually, we love having CBD at every wedding, honestly. That's why we really heavily encourage it.
Yeah, the indica vape pen is a good, it's a good rescue device, if you will. I mean, I hate to use that word. I was trying to think of a better word, but if you're way too racy, paranoid,
Anxiety.
yeah,
Works
it's-
really well for that.
it really, especially now, like when we launched, like I saw this come up in like my Facebook memories, but like 3 years ago, we had 30 milligrams in a cartridge, and now we're up to 420 milligrams of CBD in the cartridge, and we've kept the terpenes the same. But those indica cartridges now are really, that's how we knew it worked. That's why we decided to pursue vape cartridges. Was once some partners and I we just got extremely stoned, couch locked on grape ape. I still remember it. And we tried just vaping then, just the sativa terpenes, and it just changed the nature of that experience. And so that's why we pursued this. And
Definitely.
but yeah, the indica it does the opposite thing. It really will. That's what we truly believe. That's what we've believed ourselves before we launched the products, and that's what we've heard nothing but similar stories from the customers who we've had for 3 years. You really can kind of pull back being too racy with a good solid indica.
Definitely.
It's interesting.
Well, and even like a home remedy is if you're having a very adverse reaction and you're at that level of paranoia and discomfort, you can actually go get full black peppercorns, and you can either smell them, you can suck on them, or you can chew them. And depending on how you consume them is actually going to be how quick you have a better reaction. So it's really nice to even be able to reach in your cabinet, hopefully, and have something to help bring you down from a poor experience, even at home. But we have, like I said, in this kit, all sorts of different remedies, because sometimes people, if they feel like they've overconsumed THC, they're very skittish about wanting to try CBD. They're like, no, that's still more from the same plant. So that's why we like to have, like, the CBD is our first go-to if they're willing to listen to us. And then we start to go through the rest of the remedies as needed.
How about cloves?
Cloves, we actually have not incorporated that onto the kit, but I would be interested. Tell me more.
I believe that what it is
Please.
in black peppercorns that helps you pull back that high
Yeah.
is beta caryophyllene,
Okay.
and
Perfect.
it's a terpene that's found in abundance in several types of cannabis strains. And it's also, like, if you imagine a black peppercorn and a clove, and what they have in common, the way that their mutual smell that a black peppercorn and a clove has is beta caryophyllene.
Perfect.
Like kind of smells like the Old Spice gumdrops, and
I
a little
enjoy
bit like
it.
carrots too. So that's my theory about why black peppercorns work.
Yeah. It's been a quick fix for, only a couple folks have honestly needed things out of the kit, but it's been a very quick fix for those folks. So, and I felt very comfortable knowing that the kit was available.
Yeah. Well, they know they had to something rescue, and because if they're not used to it, if it's not an everyday thing, it can be really scary.
Well, and that's why we even have a sign on every single cannabis bar that says, "Do remember when doing dual consumption, if you feel lightheaded, please sit down and wave us over." And at that point, we just go see what the situation is. Do they need to eat a little bit more? Do they need to drink a lot more water? Probably. And then starting to see what type of remedy, if necessary, to get them to feel better. Sometimes they just want to talk and be like, "Am I going to be okay?" "Yes, honey, just give it about 15 minutes, or I can help you get there faster."
Right.
And quite often they're already looking at you as a confidant to guide them through that experience. So that's why, especially if they start to feel uncomfortable, we can help. And we've even helped folks who are from sea level, who came up to a high altitude wedding, who they didn't even consume cannabis, but they were having an adverse reaction to the altitude. Well, hey, we're the good kids with the kit. So we had everything ready to go. Even for somebody, we also carry Benadryl, because again, how I have the allergies myself to humulene, or having other people, if they have that other type of allergenic experience, making sure that you get them comfortable again.
Right.
I'm telling you, Dark Side of the Moon. Get some good here.
Silent disco
earphones.
headsets, and you'll know who's enjoying
like-
it.
Yeah.
It'd be perfect. You just see all these folks dancing, because silent discos at weddings is becoming a
Really?
fun, popular trend.
Never heard of it.
And yeah, and
Oh,
so
it's so wild.
it's so cool, and you can see like, so there's typically 3 different stations. Like one might be rap and reggae, one might be like, you know, rock and roll, and one might be, you know, whatever. And it's just fun because you can see if they're on red, green, or blue, but everybody's dancing to their own headsets, and it's wild because it's completely quiet to all of the vendors, and we're all laughing, looking at everybody dancing around and just doing their thing. So
That's funny.
you really could get Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
They're just playing Fish, and then they'll
Yep.
go, "Oh, I get it now.
Yes.
Is Fish still touring?"
I listened to Dark Side of the Moon on my parents' floor headset, you know,
Yeah.
but that was way before cannabis.
I can't lie. We've been going to them at Red Rocks for the last 5 years. This is our 5th year going to Brit Floyd.
Oh,
And
nice.
so they're a wonderful tribute to Pink Floyd, and we thoroughly enjoy it every year. If you haven't been to Red Rocks, just got to give that a shout out. Go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brit Floyd.
Brit Floyd, yep. I think June 6th or 7th, possibly. I just know we already bought the tickets and we're excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're running. We're coming up on our time. Do you have any deep thoughts that you'd like to tell the world about?
Deep thoughts.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people wonder why our business is called Irie.
Yes.
And Irie is a Jamaican word that means everything will be all right. Like, don't worry, be Irie. Let it be a euphoric feeling, and know that we've got your back, because that's our business name. We are Irie. So thank you for hanging out with us today. And, you know, when you're looking for the right bud tenders, please just make sure that they're appropriately trained and covered, and that you have the best experience for you and your guests, and even all of your vendors and venues.
And if you want to reach out to Irie Weddings and Events, then it is Irie Weddings, IRIE Weddings and Events.com. And phone number is 720-460-0633.
Yep.
Bec Koop, thank you very much for joining us aboard the mighty Veedverks airship. We appreciate it. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I have more questions. I have follow-up questions.
And email us with questions. We're so happy to help. And if you're interested in starting a new chain somewhere down the line in the country, let's have a chat.
There you go.
Yeah.
And don't forget to subscribe. Please help us as we continue to recover from our getting just whacked in the middle of our stream on Facebook a couple weeks ago. So appreciate the YouTube love, everybody. And as always, I'm Travis Lippert, reminding you, if you don't get hemp here, get hemp somewhere.